If you have driven on British roads at any point over the last 30 or 40 years, the names on the back of everyday cars were as predictable as the rainy weather. Brands like Vauxhall, Nissan, Ford, Fiat and Honda were not just options on a dealership lot, they were the backbone of British motoring. They were the cars that took us to work, carried our families on holiday to Cornwall, and served as the very first set of wheels for millions of young drivers across England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. But right now, in 2026, something dramatic, unprecedented and deeply unsettling is happening across the UK automotive landscape. A perfect storm of aggressive government mandates, shifting consumer habits, skyrocketing manufacturing costs, and an aggressive wave of new competition is pushing these traditional automotive giants to the absolute brink. Factories that have stood for over a century are locking their gates for good, dealership networks are shrinking at a record pace, and iconic models that topped the sales charts for decades are being quietly killed off. If you are currently thinking about buying a used car, trading in your current vehicle, or signing a new finance agreement, you cannot afford to ignore this shift. The collapse of sales and manufacturing presence for these traditional brands directly impacts used car values, the availability of spare parts, main dealer servicing networks, and how much money you will lose in depreciation over the coming years. Today, we are taking a hard, honest look from the workshop floor at the 5 iconic car brands facing severe crisis in the UK right now, why their traditional business models are failing, and what you need to know before you spend your hard-earned money on one of their cars. By the way, if you appreciate honest, down-to-earth updates on the UK car market without the corporate fluff or dealership sales pitches, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We break down the real numbers, mechanical reliability, and hidden ownership costs every single week. Subscribing ensures you stay one step ahead of the market and make the smartest possible decisions when buying or selling your car. Let us start with what is undoubtedly the most shocking blow to British manufacturing history in recent years: Vauxhall. For over 120 years, the Luton factory was synonymous with British industry. Vans and commercial vehicles rolled off those production lines through economic booms, recessions, and global shifts. But under its parent company Stellantis, the decision was officially made to shut down the historical Luton manufacturing plant, putting over 1,100 direct jobs at risk and ending more than a century of vehicle production in the area. Why did this happen? Stellantis explicitly pointed to the UK government's rigid zero-emission vehicle targets and the punishing financial penalties tied to them. Trying to force electric van adoption in a market where small business owners and tradesmen simply cannot afford the high upfront costs or contend with inadequate public charging infrastructure left the manufacturer facing hundreds of millions of pounds in potential fines. Rather than continuing to operate under those terms, the corporate decision was made to consolidate and pull back. On the retail side, Vauxhall's market share in the UK has plummeted compared to its glory days when the Astra and Corsa dominated every street corner. While the Corsa still manages decent sales figures, heavy reliance on cheap fleet registrations and aggressive discounting has severely eroded the brand's residual values on the used market. If you buy a late-model Vauxhall today, prepare for sharp depreciation as used buyers turn toward Japanese and Korean alternatives, known for superior long-term reliability. The second icon facing deep trouble is a brand that built a massive home right here in the UK, Nissan. For decades, Nissan's Sunderland plant was hailed as a global benchmark for manufacturing efficiency. The Qashqai single-handedly invented the modern crossover craze and kept British workers employed for generations. But behind the scenes, Nissan globally has been battling severe financial headwinds, leading to massive cost-cutting measures, delayed product launches, and operational restructuring. In the UK, Nissan committed heavily to early electrification with the Leaf, but they failed to maintain that momentum. As competing brands released fresher, longer range and more technologically advanced electric SUVs, Nissan's lineup began to look dated. Furthermore, early build quality issues with some of their small turbocharged petrol engines and CVT automatic gearboxes have damaged consumer confidence on the used market. While the Qashqai remains a familiar sight on British roads, Nissan's overall footprint and profitability in the UK are under immense pressure as they struggle to compete against both premium European rivals and aggressive new market entrants. That brings us to the third brand undergoing what can only be described as a high-stakes, chaotic transformation: Jaguar. Jaguar is a name deeply rooted in British automotive prestige. From the E-Type to the XJ, it represented elegance, performance and luxury. However, Jaguar's sales trajectory in recent years went into a complete tailspin. In a desperate bid to reinvent itself, Jaguar made the radical corporate decision to stop producing virtually all of its existing internal combustion engine models, including the XE, XF and F-Type, months before their new ultra-luxury electric replacements were even ready for market showrooms. This left main dealerships across the UK with almost no new cars to sell for extended periods, causing monthly registration numbers to collapse to near zero in some quarters. To make matters worse, a disastrous marketing rebrand alienated a massive portion of Jaguar's traditional customer base. By abandoning its heritage to chase a completely different demographic with ultra-expensive electric GT cars, Jaguar took one of the biggest gambles in automotive history. For used car buyers, older Jaguars now represent a high-risk proposition. Electrical gremlins, steep air suspension repair bills, and uncertain dealer network support mean residual values are taking a severe beating. Our fourth brand facing a quiet collapse in British market presence is Fiat. There was a time when the Fiat 500 was the undisputed king of city cars in the UK. Every town and university campus was filled with retro 500s. But Fiat's strategy in the UK market went completely off the rails with the transition to electrification. The brand decided to replace its bargain basement petrol 500 with a brand new, fully electric 500e. The problem? The price tag practically doubled. British buyers who were used to picking up a brand new or nearly new petrol Fiat 500 on cheap PCP finance for under £150 a month were suddenly asked to pay well over £25,000 for a small electric city car with limited range. Sales collapsed overnight. Fiat was forced to pause production of the electric 500 multiple times due to lack of global demand, eventually forced into an embarrassing U-turn by announcing they would have to develop a new hybrid petrol engine for the car just to keep the model alive. Fiat's current presence on UK roads is a shadow of what it was 10 years ago. Finally, the fifth brand struggling to retain its footing in the modern UK market is Honda. Honda used to enjoy a fiercely loyal, almost cult-like following in the UK, particularly among mature drivers who valued bulletproof Japanese reliability above all else. Models like the Civic, Jazz and CR-V were staple choices across the country. However, after Honda closed its major British manufacturing facility in Swindon, the brand's operational strategy in the UK shifted dramatically. Honda attempted to push its lineup upmarket, significantly raising list prices across the board. A basic Honda Civic or HR-V now carries a price tag that overlaps directly with premium German brands like BMW and Audi. While Honda's self-charging hybrid technology is mechanically superb, the steep purchase prices have pushed everyday British buyers away. Honda's market share in the UK has shrunk significantly, turning what was once a dominant mainstream player into a niche, low-volume brand. So what is filling the massive vacuum left by these struggling traditional giants? This leads us to the elephant in the room, the unstoppable Chinese invasion. While traditional European and Japanese brands are struggling with high overheads, factory closures, and expensive EV transitions, Chinese manufacturers like BYD, MG, Chery, Omoda, and JQ are aggressively expanding across the UK. Backed by state-subsidised supply chains and total control over battery manufacturing, these brands are offering brand-new cars packed with high-end tech, long warranties, and finance prices that undercut traditional competitors by thousands of pounds. Brands like MG, now completely Chinese-owned, have already climbed into the top 10 sales charts in the UK, régulièrement outselling long-established names like Skoda, Seat and Peugeot. For British consumers feeling the squeeze of high living costs, a cheaper monthly PCP payment on a feature-packed new car is proving far more persuasive than brand loyalty to a traditional badge. What does all of this mean for you as a car buyer or owner in the UK right now? If you currently own a car from one of these struggling brands, do not panic, but be smart. If you drive a petrol or hybrid model with a proven track record of mechanical reliability, like an older Honda Jazz or a clean petrol Nissan, hold on to it. As new car prices remain inflated and main dealer networks consolidate, clean, well-maintained Japanese and European petrol cars on the used market are going to maintain strong demand. However, if you are looking to buy a used car in the current market, proceed with extreme caution when looking at early-generation electric models or luxury cars from brands undergoing massive corporate restructuring. Always research component availability, check whether local independent specialists can work on the vehicle, and look at 3-year depreciation trends before signing any contract. The British automotive landscape is undergoing its most turbulent shift in over half a century. The days of buying a car based purely on badge heritage are over. Today, smart buyers look at build quality, mechanical simplicity, long-term running costs, and market stability. I want to hear your thoughts on this major shift. Are you sad to see iconic factories like Luton close down, or do you think traditional car makers brought this on themselves by failing to adapt? Would you ever consider buying one of the new Chinese brands entering the UK market, or are you sticking with traditional petrol cars for as long as possible? Drop your comments down below. I read as many as I can, and love seeing the debate from drivers across the UK. If you found this breakdown insightful, please give the video a like, share it with anyone thinking about changing their car soon, and don't forget to subscribe for more straightforward UK motoring news. Thanks for watching, take care out there on the roads, and I will see you in the next video.